All right, Dave Schultz, Lockdown Sun Belt, your teams every day. That took forever. Shocker with Pat Adams officiating. Troy beat Southern Miss 78-70. Ton to talk about this as we get ready for Marshall and Georgia Southern. I don't have a Georgia Southern hat. I'm not necessarily rooting for Marshall. I just happen to have a nice looking hat. All right. Couple things about this ball. A lot of things about this ball game. All right. Troy's defense was outstanding, especially in the first half. They started pulling away. Southern Miss averaging 84 points a game, had a grand total of 28 in the first half. So they really struggled against the Troy zone. All right. Second thing is Southern Miss just wouldn't go away, right? This very easily could have been a 25 or 30 point game. And although Victor Howell was telling you they were tired on offense with the shots at the basket being short, the free throws being short, the three-pointers being short, they're playing good defense. Troy had a grand total of 8 field goals in the second half. They were 8 out of 24. They were 19 out of 24 from the free throw line. All right, that's how they maintained their lead. They won the ball game at the free throw line and defensively. But Troy's offense was just bad in the second half, and that's got to be because of the Southern Miss defense, right? So you can't be all that tired on offense and holding Troy. They scored 37 points. So, they scored 41 in the first half. So they scored 37 in the second half. But most of that was from the free throw line. Well, they were tired and fouling. They still shot 8 out of 24 from the floor, did Troy. So Southern Miss's defense was there. And again, got down to a 6-point game and they had the ball before 2 late free throws. So Southern Miss does not go away. Tavares had the big ball game here, 12 out of 16. Goodness, 32 points. Bellamy had 22 points for Troy, 9 out of 14. He had help from, is that Kobe Campbell? Let me see which one it is. It is Cooper Campbell. He had 14 points. Dowd had 12 on only 1 of 7 shooting, but 10 of 12 from the free throw line. Valdez had 13 points, 7 of 9 from the free throw line, but 3 of 10 from the floor. And so Troy advances. They're going back-to-back Sun Belt championship games. I'm not sure this was we're playing our 4th game in 4 days type of deal. I think Southern Miss had issues with the zone. That's what I think. I think Troy played a very, very good zone defense against Southern Miss. Scott Cross, who is rumored to be going to Georgia Tech, they scouted him for 3 days, not to mention they played him twice. So I went back and looked, in case I wasn't paying attention to begin with, when they started playing zone. They were playing zone from the whole game. And so it took, what was it, 18-18? When they started to pull away, let's see here, 16-16, 18-17. So it was 19-18. And then Troy started to pull away a little bit. They got a 25-18, 29-22, 31-22. That's when they started to pull away. All right. They just had no where to go with that offense. And Talik Weeks had such a great tournament. And he was slowed down today. What did I say? 16 points? Let me see. 15 points on 6 of 18 shooting. He doesn't, in this case, he did shoot some threes. He made 2 of 5. I thought Matt Stewart said he made 7 all year, so he doesn't take a lot of threes. I think in this game he was taking threes because they were behind. Let's see the other stats. Southern Miss, this is amazing. My slipper is caught in the plug. There we go. Southern Miss had 69 field goal attempts. That's amazing. To Troy's 50. Southern Miss was 2 of 19 from 3. You go 4 of 19 from 3 and you got a ball game. They missed some free throws. I think Victor Hall said they missed 5 free throws in a row, down by 10 at the time. Whereas Troy missed 7 free throws, but made 31. All right, rebounding was the same. Southern Miss had a few more offensive rebounds. They had 21 to 11 second half points in favor of Southern Miss. Points in the paint, Southern Miss outscored Troy 48-38. Obviously, the difference in the ball game was the free throws. 31 out of 38 for Troy, 12 out of 20 for Southern Miss. All right. But Southern Miss just could not get it going. And then, was it about the 6-minute mark? They got it down under 10. Let's see. Because this game was a blowout, and anytime you think you hear announcers rooting for one team or another, they just want a close ball game. That's all they're rooting for. All right. They don't want a 25-point ball game because everyone's going to turn it off. So, if Matt Stewart gets excited when, down from 14 down to 12, they've cut it to 10. It's down to 8. He's not really rooting for Southern Miss. He's rooting for a close game. I guess you could in turn say that's rooting for Southern Miss, but he's really just rooting for a close game and a good finish. Let's see. 8 minutes, 10 seconds. It was in fact, with 8.5 minutes, it was a 16-point ball game. 8-10, 64-50. Still a 13-point ball game with 6:45 to go. USM got it down. Talik Weeks makes one of those 3-pointers, gets it down to 10, 65-55. But Cooper Campbell comes right back, makes it 13 with a 3-pointer with 5 minutes left to go, 68-55. In fact, Bellamy got it up to 15 with 4 minutes left to go. And then Pat Adams took over. I mean, this game took forever, but there was not a whole lot of points being scored. Tavares got an and one to make it 70-60 with 2:26 left to go. And then the next free throw was Talik Weeks with 1:35 to go, making it 70-61. So the game was not as close as that score would indicate. That doesn't change the fact that give it up to Southern Miss for making a run. 4 games in 4 days is not easy. And so congratulations to them on a nice little run to finish up the season on a high note, although they did lose today. And Troy, kind of as expected. I certainly not a crazy picking the Trojans to win this thing, but they kind of played, like they were ready to go. Once they broke into a sweat, they were in control of this ball game until the way end when almost got away from them, but not that close. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sun Belt, your teams every day. We're here in between ball games because the Sun Belt doesn't want to do it. So we figured we'd pick up the slack. All right. The other game is going to start. I'm going to guess we've been on for 8 minutes. So 8:28, probably going to start around 9:00 Eastern time. All right. That's quickly approaching Schultz's bedtime. So we'll find out what happens with Georgia Southern and Marshall tomorrow. Having said that, and then we will, Monday, didn't we say that's like a 6 p.m. game time? It's a 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern time, but I'm not working, so we can stay up. I'll do a post-game show live, and then we'll have an episode for that Tuesday morning. All right. And then the Marshall Thundering Herd are coming to me, weather permitting, to play the Louisville Cardinals. So we'll see some Herd baseball live and in person. All right. So Troy wins. They're going to face the winner of Georgia Southern and Marshall. And the couple of people who have commented did not really want to see this matchup for Marshall. However, it is 5 games in 5 days for Georgia Southern. Let me see if I can find the stats here for Georgia Marshall. I combined the two schools there. They gave up to Georgia Southern. Georgia Southern scored exactly 200 points against them. They lost 100-1 to 87, and then they lost in the season finale in Marshall's last game, 99-82. All right, let me see if we could quickly find that. That was the one thing I did not do. Because what does Marshall give up? I can find their offensive stuff quickly. But let me see what they give up team stats defensively per game. They give up a lot. They give up 78 points a game. That doesn't change the fact that they gave up averaging 100 to Georgia Southern. If they gave up 78 to Georgia Southern twice, they would have beaten them twice. Again, we're caught in this court. All right. Sorry, this is moving my computer. And so we'll see if Marshall's defense can do anything here. I think this was a good ball game last time out. All right. It got away from Marshall 99-82, but I think it was close with about 6 minutes left to go in the second half, right? Let me see. Because I don't think they pulled away for a minute. Let me see here. In fact, Marshall was winning at the beginning of the second half. It's 52-50 with 15 minutes to go. Let's see here. 60-60 with 11 minutes to go. 63-62, 65-64. Marshall's leading. Wyatt Fricks makes a three-pointer. 73-72, 6:38 to go. And that may have been the spot where Georgia Southern kind of took it over. Just kind of banging away, and a 5-point lead becomes an 8-point lead, becomes a 9-point lead, and a 10-point lead, and they pulled away from there. So this ball game was a good game until about 6 minutes to go in regulation, last time out for Marshall. All right. So what can you do to change it? I mean, do they try zone against Georgia Southern? And that didn't work for South Alabama, right? Southern Miss wants to get inside, and that's why that zone worked really well for Troy. Georgia Southern's going to shoot a bunch of threes, right? They made 12 last night, but they made 23 against South Alabama, right? How many did they shoot? I mean, God. They shot 44 threes. They were 29 of 52 against South Alabama. They did get 17 free throw attempts. Most of those, if not all of them, in the second half. 23 out of 44 from the three-point line. And to think that was even a ball game, and it was until the very end. So we'll see how this one goes. Let me see what the line is. I'd be interested to know what the line is. It's the fifth game in 5 days. I mean, you would think Marshall would be favored, except they've lost these 2 ball games, right? Let's see. Do we have a line? I don't see a line. Do I have my phone? I don't have my phone. Let's see if we can get into FanDuel. All right. That's not what I want. I got FanDuel Sports Network. That's not really what I want. All right, there we go. Because it can only be a couple of points if it is even that. Now it's going to take forever. Oh, Marshall is a 3.5-point favorite. I'm a little bit surprised. At that. I would think it would be like 1.5, 2. You know, that's not a big difference, but I mean, it's not like it's a football game, and 3.5 is a huge difference. But and the reason they're 3.5-point favorites is because it's 5 games in 5 days for Georgia Southern. So can they pull it off? It will be very, very impressive. All right, again, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sun Belt, your teams every day. Trying to get the comments in here. You guys can comment on. Do I need to look on YouTube? All this live stuff is new to me. Let me see. I don't see any things on YouTube. Did I? Let me see here. I thought I did monetize it and all. Let's make sure this is going okay. No restrictions. All right. Well, live. Let's see what we got here. It is on. All right. Got a few views, but I don't see any comments yet. All right. Anyways, nonetheless. Okay. So that's what we got. Troy beats Southern Miss with the zone and hangs on at the end, but despite bad defense or bad offense in the second half. And can Marshall slow down Georgia Southern's high potent offense, which has been on high octane in the Sun Belt Conference tournament, but it was on high octane, during the 2 times that they played them. Let's see what Georgia Southern has scored in this tournament. 88, 80, 94, and 96. So that's got to be, it's not quite 90. Let's see. Say probably about 88, right? 96 plus 94 plus 80 plus 88 equals 358 divided by 4 is 89.5. So almost 90 points. 360 would have been 90. All right. My understanding is that there would be no math. So Georgia Southern has scored almost 90 points a ball game. All right. So we'll see what Marshall can do. Again, it's going to be ready versus the rested. Well, I saw a women's coach say ready versus rhythm, or rested versus rhythm. Here would be the thing if I am Marshall. You don't want to bank on this, okay? But if this is a close ball game again and Georgia Southern pulls away at the end, I'd be shocked. That's where Marshall just keeps their head among them. Marshall should be able to pull away at the end in theory. It may not happen, but in theory. All right. You would think Troy would have been able to pull away from Southern Miss at the end, and they could not. So that was an interesting thing. They just weren't playing very sharp offense at all. All right. Elsewhere in basketball, and I forgot this this morning, South Alabama gets the all-time makeup call. We all think, well, they missed that call, so they're going to give them that call. That was that should have been called a ball, but it was called a strike, and now strike 3 is ball 4, right? We all wonder about the makeup calls, all right? Well, this is about as big as makeup call as you can be. So last year, UC Riverside was invited to be in the NIT, turned them down to go to the CBI. Okay, thank you. We're going to go to South Alabama. South Alabama says, we'll take the NIT. South Alabama is in the NIT. UC Riverside says, hold up, take a time out. We want the NIT. Well, the NIT should have said, no, you turned us down. Sorry. That's not what they did. They told South Alabama, UC Riverside accepted their invitation. So what does the NIT do to make it up? Before the NIT bracket is announced, right after the NCAA tournament bracket is announced, South Alabama is in. Now, Craig Stevenson, South Alabama beat writer, always one step ahead. Could you have a South Alabama-Auburn matchup in the first round of the NIT? Because the NIT usually tries to get regional games. No one's going to travel. It's going to be on a weekday early on. If it's not, it's up against an NCAA tournament. So they're going to try and do that. It's not the worst of all ideas. The problem is Stephen Pearl going to, take and the Auburn Tigers going to take their ball and go home if they don't get in the NCAA, which would be foolish because, again, some of these guys are never going to play college sports again or else they're going to play for another 10 years. So that's where we are. So South Alabama is going to the NIT because they got royally screwed last year. Amazing. I've never seen such a makeup call in my entire life. All right. So that's where we are in basketball. All right. Troy taking on the winner of Georgia Southern Marshall for the championship. South Alabama heading to the NIT. All right. And we'll see if it is against Auburn, which, again, would be a great thing. Sounds ridiculous. It would be better for the NIT if that game was at South Alabama. You'd get many more fans at that South Alabama game playing Auburn in Mobile than you would getting South Alabama playing in Auburn. The Mitchell Center would be sold out. I guess half full is probably the same. Could be the same amount of people. But one's going to be a sellout and one is not going to care. Just a thought, all right? Although the way LSU muscled the Cajuns, about a decade ago, that probably, basically, I think LSU told the NIT, if we're not hosting, we're not playing. So they could do that. All right. We'll see what happens. All right, baseball-wise, it started out to be a great weekend for the Sun Belt. Coastal Carolina with a pair of wins. The Cajuns with a pair of wins. South Alabama beats La Tech Friday night. Didn't end that way. All right. The Cajuns and Coastal Carolina still won their series, but did drop it on Saturday. East Carolina beats Coastal Carolina 10-4 in 6 innings. Dallas Baptist all over the Cajuns 12-1. And La Tech actually wins the series and beats South Alabama 6-1. Not great. I was going to describe this as no sweeps. Southern Miss did sweep. Southern Miss did sweep North Alabama out of the A-Sun. 9-2 victory for Southern Miss, so they should probably remain. I guess we could look at it now. Although you do have, there was a bunch of rain in Baton Rouge, like severe rain, flooding rain. The LSU was playing late, like 6 p.m. Central Time. So this is going to change moving forward. Let's see what baseball has it. Let's see. Southern Miss is still number 1. Is that with their victory today? Let's see. No, that's not with their victory today. I don't know why that hasn't changed, unless they have a game against a lesser division foe. Let me see. It should have it in here. Oh, is it still going on? Oh, that could be a me problem. No, it says final. It hasn't updated on the D1 scoreboard. That's the problem. Or on the Warren Nolan scoreboard. All right. It says final on the D1 scoreboard. 9-2 final. Let's see what the box score is. It has not updated on the Warren Nolan final. All right. So they are 14-2 according to. Oh. Have they moved down? Well, this says still says they're number 1. All right. Still says they're number 1. Cajuns probably fell a little bit down to 12 because they lost. South Alabama had really made it high yet. Let's see where we are in the Sun Belt overall, because a bunch of teams are less than 100. All right. So Southern Miss is 1. The Cajuns are 12. I think Arkansas State did come up with a win today. They beat Oral Roberts 7-0. They are 75. Texas State is 12-3. They're 91. Arkansas State 75. South Alabama is 98, even though they've lost a couple. Coastal Carolina 93. Georgia State is even 81, and Troy, despite being 6-9, is 67. So how many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 Sun Belt teams, as Sun Belt play will start this weekend coming up, are less than 100 RPI, are in the top 100. That's outstanding. You absolutely have to love that. All right, we're going to take this until tip-off. We'll see when it comes, Marshall and Georgia Southern. So, again, the Sun Belt doesn't want to do it. I figured I would. All right. We will, and then we'll have, a post-game show. I probably could do a pregame show. Preview it. The game's at 7. I have to close. Yeah, the game's at 7 Eastern. I may do a pregame show. Why not do a pregame show? We'll get on here at 6:30 and do a little pregame show. And then do the game, post-game show. That'll be good. All right. It's not the worst of all ideas. Maybe we'll do a 15-minute pregame show. 15-minute pregame show is probably better. And that'll lead right into the game. All right. And I believe it is on, does it tell me here? ESPN2. All right. So Matt Stewart and Victor Howell have done yeoman's work for the last week. They get bumped. The guys will be in the arena. I know that is always a biggest complaint on the Sun Belt broadcasts. And unfortunately, what we're doing here, and I brought it up during the week, is the reason they do this because they have these great broadcast facilities, but they're not taking full advantage of the broadcast facilities. Also, how much money are you saving for 2 more guys, right? Is there a spotter? Two more people having hotel rooms. That's it. We're saving 2 hotel rooms. If you're using the facilities to their max capacity, right? Have a half an hour pregame show, preview both games, men and women's, and then do postgame show, and then do in between. You got a bunch of highlights. You know what they do at halftime of these games? They tell us about first team, second team, and third team all Sun Belt. Like they couldn't make a new feature. Someone couldn't put together a feature on last year's Troy Sun Belt Championship, right? Couldn't get a pregame feature with, what Georgia Southern and Southern Miss did. What about on the girls' side? I mean, South Alabama and ULM, I know they're done, but what a great run for both those squads. Couldn't do something like that. It was the same thing. They made one feature. So I understand why they are in New Orleans, because they spent the money on that, but then spend a little bit more money and use it to its max capacity. Heck, you could have paid me. I would have stayed up and done it here, right? Probably could have got Dominic from Sun Belt Syndicate, and we could have had a cross show. I don't know how we linked that to ESPN, but we could have done it. So I just think the term is half-assing it. I think that's the term. All right, which is unfortunate because if you have your audience, keep the audience. It is what it is. All right, back to baseball as we are waiting the tip-off of Georgia Southern and Southern Miss. Let's see what other games were played today. Texas State did beat Washington State 4-3. Old Dominion over Connecticut 6-5. Troy lost to Maryland 7-6. What happened in that series? I mean, Troy lost 2 out of 3. Remember the Cajuns took 2 out of 3? Did the Cajuns take 2 out of 3, or did they win all 3? Cajuns took all 3. Cajuns swept Maryland. All right. They did lose. Texas State lost to Vanderbilt, and Vanderbilt is not any good right now. Right? I mean, Vanderbilt, they lost to North Dakota State today. They have lost 5 of their last 8 ball games. They had started out the year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-2. 1, 2. They have 7 losses. What are they? 10-7. Yeesh. Meanwhile, let's see what. And they're opening up with LSU this weekend in SEC play. Let's see what this game is. It may not have started yet. They don't seem to have a score. Let's see. Just want to see. Well, the best way to do that is actually Twitter. LSU baseball keeps up with it pretty well. Just want to see because let's see here. Sacramento's beating LSU 5-0. Oh man. It has been a bad week. A bad 10 days for LSU since they lost to McNeese. They did beat Northeastern. They did beat Dartmouth. They did beat Grambling, I guess. Then they lost to Northeastern again. They lost to the Cajuns. They did beat Sacramento State in the first game, and they lost yesterday, and now they're getting blanked. Long way to go. All right. And they do get Vanderbilt. As far as, let's talk about the Sun Belt schedule, because it starts off with a couple of awesome series. All right. We'll worry about the midweek games. I mean, you do have, that UT Rio Grande Valley, I think, is more impressive with the with their stadium and their crowd than their actual record. They're taking on the Cajuns. Troy is at Alabama. Texas is at Texas State. Southern Miss hosting Ole Miss. We have some good ones. And again, Louisiana's getting McNeese. Marshall's coming here to play Louisville. All right. However, you do have some outstanding series in the Sun Belt on opening weekend. Southern Miss going to Arkansas State. Arkansas State, the biggest pleasant surprise in the Sun Belt right now. They are 12-5. Really impressive. Mike Silva doing a great job there. They beat Arkansas. Remember that? And then I think they lost Arkansas 1-0. So they've done a really good job early on in this season. Then you have South Alabama is coming to the Cajuns. So big series right from the get-go. Other series include Georgia State at Marshall. Coastal is at App State. That's a big series for both teams, right? Texas State playing on the road against ULM. We'll see how good ULM is. Texas State is off to a great start, and Troy is hosting Old Dominion. We'll see if Skylar Meade's schedule theory pans out, because he wanted to play tougher teams on the road, which you can't blame him, because that's the way all this stuff goes on the road. You get more points, if you will, in your RPI for winning on the road against maybe lesser teams than more teams. All right. Let's see. Dominic chirping in here. All right. Oh, he's got the Sun Belt baseball scores. Yeah, we got him. Appreciate it, Dominic. Appreciate you much. But I mean, the Sun Belt is going to get off to a tremendous start this weekend. And so we'll see. I mean, I happen to think Southern Miss is for real, but let's see if Arkansas State is for real. All right. It's not only do they beat them, but can they compete against them? Right. What does South Alabama do after losing 2 out of 3 to La Tech? Cajuns coming off a 12-1 loss. And we'll see what happens midweek, but that's a huge rivalry series there, right? Troy not off to a great start. They get Old Dominion. ULM, a little bit improved, but Texas State appears to be really good. Can App State get it going at home against Coastal, and Marshall hosting Georgia State? So really, really cool stuff to begin the Sun Belt season. So I'm looking forward to that for sure. We are starting to get busy at the distillery, so that is nice, right? Derby's not too far away. We're less than 2 months away. Starting to heat up as well. Going into the warehouse tomorrow to give a tour for the first time since it got cold in November, something along those lines. So we're looking forward to that. But really looking forward to the opening weekend of Sun Belt baseball, and that's going to coincide with the Sun Belt champion playing in the NCAA tournament. So we'll see how that goes. I still think it's going to be Troy. Again, not going off the board. I understand that, but I had no reason to pick against them moving forward. But we'll see what happens here. You would have to favor, if Georgia Southern wins, you'd have to give a huge favor to Troy. That would be 6 games in 6 days. It's a great story, but that would be incredible if they did that. I believe UConn did that, right? Didn't UConn do that? Syracuse won, but I don't think it was 6 games in 6 days. I thought UConn did it, right? They won it. Then they win a national championship that year too. Syracuse went on a run, but I don't think it was 6 days, 6 games in 6 days. I thought UConn did. All right. Trying to think of it. All right. All right. So just quickly before this game tips off, I think it's about to tip off. Of course, it's delayed. Pat Adams must have been running halftime or in between ball games operations. All right. So we do have Troy defeating Southern Miss. I had it here. 78-70. Credit to both teams. Troy with their defense in the first half pulling away. Southern Miss not going away in the second half when they very easily could have been down by 20 or 25. And at the same time, they're going to be knocking their heads against the wall because Troy went 11 minutes without scoring a field goal, basically, in that second half. So Troy moves on. They will take on the winner of Marshall and Georgia Southern. Georgia Southern averaged, and even I can do this one, 100 points against Marshall this year. They scored 101 and they scored 99. So they averaged 100 points against Georgia Southern in 2 ball games, including the last time Marshall played to wrap up the regular season. And I guess Marshall would have probably been, wouldn't have Marshall been the number 2 seed anyways, even if they had one? Let's see here. Marshall lost to Troy. So Marshall, despite losing, and even if they had won, they still would have been the number 2 seed. All right. As it is. Okay. They're ruining the Cajuns RPI. All right. There we have some comments. Dom, you're always there when I need you. All right. I appreciate that. Also, South Alabama going to the NIT, the all-time makeup call for last year. South Alabama gets the invite to the NIT more than a week before the actual bracket is out. And again, as Craig Stevenson mentioned, because he's always looking ahead, would they have Auburn play South Alabama in the NIT? Again, it would be for a great crowd. And by the way, this game is and it has just tipped off. All right, so we'll let you go. It was down to 2.5. It was 3.5. Marshall favored by 2.5. Some late money coming in on the Georgia Southern Eagles. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in. Really do appreciate it. We did have a couple of handfuls of people watching. We will probably do a pregame show tomorrow, say 15 minutes before the game, and then we'll do a postgame show as well. Don't forget to go subscribe to Locked On Sun Belt on YouTube, Apple Podcast, and Spotify, and we'll have a full episode with the basketball, the baseball, South Alabama going to the NIT, all of it coming up on Monday's episode of Locked On Sunbelt. Thank you so much for tuning in. Enjoy Georgia Southern and Marshall. Have a great night, everybody.